Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Am I visible? Kindly give me a confirmation. Kindly give me a quick confirmation. So we have Krishna Teja Reddy joining us. Who all are joining us today? Okay, so we have Purba also. Okay, where are others? Sanya, Dolly, great. Welcome, everyone. We'll quickly resume. I beg your pardon. We'll quickly start and let me share the link with the others also who are joining us. One particular concern came to me that the regarding the lectures. So we'll be sharing 2 or 3 lectures on the YouTube as well for the others to see. So kind of a window shopping for the others and part of our providing the demo lectures to the others. And after that, there will be no lectures, so don't worry. There was a small query received in the morning by a student who was concerned that why the lectures are being given out in the public, so they will not be. So don't worry on that front. But yes, the initial 2 to 3 lectures we'll be providing as a part of our demo lecture series, which some students may want to see. Okay, so let's resume our discussion. Yesterday, we started our discussion by talking about the political theory, and we tried to trace the origins of the political theory. And we talked about how, from the ancient times till the contemporary times, we have traveled a great distance, and the distance essentially tells us that uh, at different points of time in history, we have had a different viewpoint to look at things. We'll be refining all these things today also. And then we try to map the entire paper one part A syllabus in the form of chronology, where we discussed how, when it comes to the political thought, whether it is the Western political thought or whether it is the Indian political thought, they both have a certain historical heritage. And since the ancient times, we have had some ideas when it comes to those thoughts. Eventually, we reached the modern times whereby we have modern thinkers coming into picture, where we introduced thinkers like Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, J.S. Mill, Karl Marx. And we also said that in the modern times, we have the coming up of political ideologies also. Later on, towards the part of the 19th and the 20th century, the Indian political thought or the modern Indian political thought comes into picture, whereby we have the viewpoint of the political scientists like in our case Mahatma Gandhi or B.R. Ambedkar or M.N. Roy or Bindo Ghosh. And finally, we talked about the political theory, which has different kinds of ideas. Either it is the idea of justice, equality, rights, and we have been talking about these ideas since the ancient times. We continue to talk about these ideas. The conceptualizations will vary from time to time, and we'll see the evolution also. But that is how we placed all parts of paper one, part A. And today, before we start with the political ideologies, I'll be starting with liberalism today. But before that, general question arises sometimes that how should we distinguish between political science and political philosophy? Briefly talk about this with you, that when I talk about the subject is political science, but many times we'll be using the word political philosophy and political theory. So at the onset, you need to understand that political theory is a wider term which is deployed, and this particular term of political theory will incorporate 2 primary schools of thought, and those 2 primary schools of thought are a school of thought of political science and a school of thought of philosophy. So these two, I'll add here, pol science and political philosophy. Although our subject is political science, but there will be a lot of strands of political philosophy within it. And political theory is a broader term which will be used. So when I use the term political theory and I say in ancient times, the political theory in ancient times will deal with some topics or some themes. For example, the political theory in ancient times would talk a lot about the nature of state. It will talk about justice. It will talk about what is the conception of good life. It may talk about, yesterday I discussed with you, what is happiness for you. So these kinds of questions were the major areas of inquiry in political theory back then. And if I say that whenever I am more interested in knowing the metaphysics, or if I am interested in knowing theology, or if I am interested in knowing the answers to questions like existence, reality, or I am trying to understand the why of universe, of why things happen the way they happen, what is reality, is reality actually material reality, or there is a spiritual reality, what's the purpose of our existence, what is God. When I talk about theology, the idea is we are going to have a discussion on questions like what is God, what are the characteristics of God. When I talk about metaphysics, it is a branch of philosophy which will talk about questions around reality, existence. The major focus of political theory back in ancient times was on these themes, and they are more related to the realm of philosophy. That is what is the inclination of political theory back then. So, yesterday, when we talked about the classical political theory, I'm talking about the times of Aristotle, Plato, the political theory focused on more philosophical questions. I'm saying it focused more on philosophical questions. I'm not saying it did not talk about how we are living or how should politics be conducted. At this onset, let's try to distinguish between a very, very important concept, and we'll be using this concept in our entire discussion on political theory for the coming 1.5 months. This discussion relates to the discussion between idea and matter. It's a very important discussion. Basically, what is reality? If you have done your general studies, you might have come across, in ancient times, we study a lot about philosophies. And when we talk about philosophies, there is this school of thought, the Astic school of thought or the Gnostic school of thought in the Indian philosophy. The question at hand is that whether the reality which we look through our senses or sensory organs, so is that the reality, or is there some other reality which may be related to some spiritual being, some spiritual, let's say, an entire area which cannot be seen from sensory organs. In Hinduism, we call it the mithya or maya. That the world which you look at through your sensory organs, that is the realm of matter. I can see it. I can see it. It's a pen. It's made up of some matter. Okay. Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. Okay. From the general definition of matter, matter is anything which occupies space and has mass. This is materialistic domain, which I realize through my sensory organs. There is another domain which I cannot realize through my sensory organs, but I can do some logical reasoning, and that domain I'll be calling as the domain of ideas. And this is a very, very important debate in philosophy, that what is actually reality? Is the reality something which you look at through your eyes? Is that the reality? Or reality is actually the realm of ideas which cannot be seen, but you can use logic to understand it. You can use reason to understand it. The moment I am interested in looking at reality from this lenses, I will be venturing into philosophy. And here I will be doing a lot of analysis. But this analysis will be in my head, logic, reason, not necessarily what I can see. When I do this, I am here, political philosophy. But if I decide not to go into the realm of ideas and I simply try to make of things as visible to me through my sensory organs, that is where I will be in the realm of matter. Politics takes place in the realm of matter. We all know honesty is the best policy. But are people speaking, are people being truthful? And we are more interested in the political class. We are not interested in normal people speaking a lie or normal people being truthful or not. We are interested in political class because that's the area of study for us. So anyone who is aspiring to be a politician, anyone who is aspiring, let's say, to become a part of political class, we know that yes, honesty is the best policy, and that applies to everyone. It is not only applying to political class or to normal people like you and me. It's applicable everywhere. But the moment I apply this principle or I see the reality, I I am I'm finding that people don't generally speak truth, or they're generally not truthful because it may not work in their favor. So what should be there versus what is there? There is a huge difference. What should be there is something which I'll discuss here, or let's call it what ought to be. If I am discussing what ought to be and I am making all my analysis on what ought to be, so one should not be corrupt, one should not be dishonest. If I am analyzing all these things from and I am doing all this analysis in my head, I am here. But if I change and I say, okay, people are lying, people are not being truthful, people are corrupt also, and yet they are able to occupy power, and not only occupy power, they are able to sustain power and remain in power. The moment I do analysis around this, I have shifted my focus from what ought to be to what is. And I have shifted from political philosophy to political science. Or I have shifted from the idea to what I can actually see. This debate is a very important debate, and unfortunately, there's no answer to this debate, because at one point of time, I'll make you realize that this is the reality. At other point of time, I'll make you realize that this is the reality, because different philosophers or different political scientists or different political theorists will be using these terms interchangeably. All these political theorists, which I mentioned to you yesterday also, they might look at things from this perspective, or they might look at things from this perspective. So Plato was somebody who dealt with things in the realm of ideas. But Karl Marx is a thinker who is more interested in what he sees. He's not interested in what ought to be. The moment I make this distinction, I am basically distinguishing between political philosophy and political science. Both are parts of political theory. My political theory may have more inclination towards this side, or my political theory may have more inclination towards this side. Depending on my theorist, he may be a person who believes more in the realm of ideas, so his theory will tilt towards more philosophy. Or I may have theorists who do not believe in this, and their theory will tilt more towards science. This is how we make a distinction. Okay. But generally, on a macro level, political philosophy was more profound in the ancient times. More profound. I'm not saying that it was only there and political science was not there. No, political science was also there. But more profound political philosophy was there in ancient times. In modern times, we will see that political science is more profound. And that is why the name of the subject is also political science. But it incorporates both the ideas. Okay. If you have any kinds of doubts, feel free to message me on the chat. Now itself, I can see all your chat. So whenever you have any kind of doubt, feel free to message in between the lecture. I'll be able to see your chat and I'll be replying to you. Okay. Now, so this is my political philosophy, political science, part of political theory. Now, this is one distinction which we have to always keep in mind as we'll move forward. The second is there has been a debate on the terminology of our subject, political science. And I'll tell you a very interesting story. So I was traveling. With my uncle, and he is a psychologist. Sorry, he's a psychiatrist. So my uncle, he asked me psychiatry. Now, psychiatry is, first of all, it's a modern science. And if you go and if you talk to a person who practices science, so if I talk about medicine, if I talk about physics, if I talk about chemistry, if I talk about mathematics, these are sciences in the sense that I have a systematic way of studying them. And more importantly, I have a framework of observation. I have a framework of experiments. I have a framework of verifying. So if Newton is saying that, okay, the apple fell, he is then coming up with a theory which he can verify. In science, it is very important that whatever thesis you are making, you need to get your experiments, you need to have observations, and you need to then finally verify whatever you are saying is true or not. That's the essence of science. And in modern terms, we use the science in this manner. So, there's a general tendency of people who belong to natural sciences like physics, chemistry, mathematics, psychiatry, medicine. These are all natural sciences. So there's a general tendency, people who belong to this group, they don't consider social science. They don't consider subjects like political science or socio or let's say public administration or philosophy as sciences. Why? Because there is a lot of subjectivity when it comes to subjects like philosophy, political science. And there comes a debate that everything what happens in the political domain. So at one point of time, Nehru will do something else, Indira Gandhi may do something else, and Narendra Modi may do something else when it comes to foreign policy. And you may not be able to generalize the behavior of political actors. You can't say that, okay, when it comes to relations with Pakistan, necessarily Modi is going to do X or Y. Why? Because science says X or Y should be done. Modi may do something else. Indira Gandhi may have done something else. Nehru may have done something else. That's the leadership factor in our foreign policy. And that is subjective because it is a function of who you are. I can't make generalizations with respect to that. In science, you make generalizations. Science will say if this is a pen and if you leave it, it will fall. And you do it for any other object, it will fall. That's a generalization that gravity is going to function and this is how the world operates. So my natural sciences, what they are trying to do is they are trying to give me laws through which the nature operates. But the problem is when it comes to social sciences cannot provide me laws because these laws, I'm calling these laws as generalizations. These generalizations may not hold true in every circumstance. So the problem comes that if there is no generalization and whatever theory you are giving, you can't necessarily prove that with experiments and observations. It may get proved in some circumstances, it may not be true in some other circumstances. So it would be wrong to call such study as a science. And when you come to political science, if it is a science, then it should make generalizations, which should be true no matter what. But we don't see that happening. There is subjectivity. So now the question comes, is it right to call the study of state, the study of political institutions, the study of power as a science? Some will say, yes, it is fine, so call it political science. Some will say, no, it is wrong. Who will say no? Generally those who look at sciences only through this lenses. So my uncle, he said, I am a student of psychiatry. I practice medicine. I have thesis. I am able to prove those theses. I do experiments on people, and if their situation is improved, then I can say whatever I am doing is working. And we see that happening for a good number of people, to the extent that we can generalize that this is how it should be. That if you have some problem in your brain, I am going to give you this medicine and it will cure you, because this is how things operate. So he'll say, how can you say that for politics, whereby you don't know how you will be able to have power, or how do you how do you explain that, okay, Modi was able to get power in 2014 and 2019, but okay, things did not work in 2024. So I'll go and I'll try to find reasons, but my study says that I should be able to predict the outcome. And if I'm not able to predict the outcome, then the question comes, is it actually a science or not? That's one of the debates on the terminology. Should we call the study of state political institutions as political science, or is it wrong to say? Those who justify it, they justify it in the sense that we are trying to have a systematic way of study of political institutions. The moment you have a systematic way of study, we are calling it as science, and we are not necessarily waiting for the observation, experimentation, and verification. To the extent that I may not be able to make generalizations, or my generalizations may not prove true all the time. But because it is a systematic way of doing things, so we are calling it science. We justify it this manner. Okay. Furqan is saying political philosophy is concerned about idealism. Absolutely. And science is regarding realism. Okay, largely. Philosophy, realm of ideas, idealism. Science, realm of matter, realist, political realism. Okay, fine. So this is something which you should just have an idea. Although they won't be asking you questions on this, but it's just for your understanding that what is political philosophy and what is political science. Now, with this was a brief discussion which I wanted to have with you. I prepared some notes also for you with respect to this distinction. I don't know, teda kyun aa raha hai? There's a decline. Anyway, not a problem. This is quite detailed and it may be intimidating for you. So I will not force you to read this and try to understand this. No, but I'll just use the first 3 rows to make you explain the idea, and then over a period of time, these things will become clear to you. At this point of time, I have to tell you that as we move forward in our study, there will come things which I'll make you write at this point of time, and they will become a little more clear over a period of time. This is because I will give you notes which will be sufficient and you will not have to go for any other book. So I will be making you write a lot of things at this very point, which will make sense once maybe you have done the 3rd lecture or the 5th lecture or the 7th lecture. But I'll make you write right here, because when we read this after 2, 3, 4 months, you would have done 5th, 7th, 9th lecture, and the 1st and 2nd lecture will make more sense to you. So I'll be making you write a lot of things from the very starting, but I'll demand a little bit patience and things will become very, very smooth approximately after 7 to 8 lectures. Okay. Till that time, I'll be demanding a lot of patience from you. Meanwhile, if you have any kinds of doubts, feel free to message also. Political science, the nature is empirical. Empirical means something which is related to the facts which I can see, or something which is observable by sensory organs. That is empirical. Philosophy is abstract. And generally, the inclination of philosophy is ethical. In political science, we'll also study unethical things. But philosophy will always talk about what should be done, what is the right thing to do. Okay. Inclination. Focus, political institutions, processes, political behavior. Here, the focus is on moral foundations of political life. So, more ethical bent. Approach, we will have data, observation will be there, we will compare. Here, the major focus will be, we will be indulging in reasoning and logic. So, one is reasoning logic, the other is related to observations, data, comparison. Very recently, we have started doing this exit polls. You all know about exit polls or opinion polls. And through exit polls, what we do is we try to predict who will win. Now, that's a separate thing, that exit polls are largely rigged and they don't tell us the reality. And most of the times it is wrong. In 2024 elections, the exit poll says ab ki baar 400 par. Unfortunately, it did not happen. So, but the point here is not that. The point is, exit polls is an exercise in political science. Why? I'm trying to collect data and then I'm trying to make a prediction. So that's related to more empirical way of doing things rather than simply saying, okay, uh, you know, if I make an overarching statement, let's say that one should never lie in order to achieve a thing. That's an overarching prescriptive statement telling me that you should never lie no matter what. Political science will not say that you should not lie. Political science will say, okay, he lied or they lied, and that was the result. So I am interested in analyzing what happened instead of saying that this should happen. Basic distinction. Okay, that's it. We'll not go further because that will make it difficult for you. So this is just the part of introduction as of now. Now I'm starting with political ideologies. And the first ideology is liberalism. Okay. And now you have to keep on taking down these running notes. And at the same time, I'll be giving you dictation also today. So that's how we'll be moving forward. Okay. Now, before we start with liberalism, have you ever heard the term liberalism? Do you know what is liberalism all about, or what is the fundamental idea in liberalism? I'll be discussing with you fundamentals, and we'll be focusing on fundamentals, and I'll be asking you to tell me whatever you know. I'm not expecting you to know everything, but have you ever heard the term liberalism? And if you have heard the term liberalism, then what's the broad idea which you have from the term liberalism? Because we are going to be starting with this ideology, and it is it is such an important ideology that it has implications for the entire world, and we also abide by many liberal ideas in our country. And when we drafted our constitution, so in the morning I was having this polity class and we were discussing about the drafting of the constitution. So when we drafted our constitution, we incorporated many ideas which make us liberal in nature. And at this point of time, uh, one point of inquiry is that what is basically liberalism all about? And that's the starting point for us also, that what is basically liberalism all about? The word liberalism here, the word liber is of importance to me. Free man. Whenever you will find the word ism, it can be socialism, it can be feminism, it can be Marxism, it can be Gandhism, it can be fascism. All this is something which we have to study. It's basically a set of ideas. Liberalism is a set of ideas. Socialism is also a set of ideas. Some set of ideas which will try to explain the world to us. That is what ideology is all about. Ideology at the heart is nothing but a set of ideas which will try to explain how things work. That is what ideology is. Political ideologies means set of ideas through which we will organize our political life. That is what is the meaning of political ideologies. Ideology, set of ideas which will try to tell us how the life is organized. They'll try to tell us. Liberalism will try to tell us. Socialism will also try to tell us. Feminism will also try to tell us. Every ideology will try to tell us how the social living is, how the social living should be, and what is reality. That is basically what everyone will try to tell us. Now, liberalism as a set of ideas, as an ideology, basically talks about free man. At the heart of liberalism is liberty. What is liberty? Now, for us as students of political science, liberty is a political ideal. It's something which we want to realize. It's something which we hold as valuable. Liberty is valuable to me. So, we all value our freedom to a great extent. And for liberals, one should be free. It's the ideology of free man. It's the ideology through which freedom will be realized by men. That is what is at the heart of liberalism. We'll see why it is at the heart of liberalism, but liberty is my keyword. And liber is nothing but a free man. Ideology of a free man. Now, it's very interesting to know the circumstances in which this liberalism came. When we talk about liberalism, we talk about the ideas of John Locke. John Locke, English political theorist. He is writing at a time when we are entering into modern times. Modern times, Enlightenment era. There are certain features of modernity. I don't know how many of you are aware or about the term individualism. Individualism is a term which we use where we want to say that individual is of supreme importance. John Locke is writing in modern times. Modern times value individualism. From his ideas, we will see how individual became very, very important and why it is at the heart of liberalism. Liberalism deals with liberty. It's the ideology of free man. It came in the ideas of John Locke. John Locke is writing in modern times. Now, let's go back to the triangle which we made yesterday. Remember this triangle? I told you that the classical political theory gave a lot of importance to state, whereas the modern political theory gave more importance to humans. More importance, what is the meaning of more importance? I will do everything around state or I will do everything around humans. That is the meaning. From here, I will be deriving individualism also. Is your choice more important, or what your family, what religion, or what state will tell you? Let's say you want to, let's say, talk about your choice as for marriage. Your choice for marriage, you have a right. As of now, you have a fundamental right. You can choose whoever you want to marry. It's your choice. The decision will be taken by you. But we also have a system whereby the society decides for us, because the society will dictate to you that you should marry within your religion. The society may dictate that you should marry within your caste, or the society may dictate that you should marry within your community, whatever be the case. Now, this is the dictate of society versus you have your own choice or preference. Previous societies, if I talk before the modern times, gave more importance to society, and this was the major determinant. Religion used to guide, and the state would also say that, okay, this is how you should act. In case of India, one of the duties of the king was to ensure that everyone is following their Varna Dharma, doing things as per your Varna. That's a duty of the king, one of the duties. State is telling you that everything is decided beforehand. You need to take care of the fact that you follow that. What about your choice or preference? We are not going to give a lot of importance to this. The society, and in the society, primarily religion is going to make the laws. State will implement the laws, and you have to submit yourself to those. That's the general framework of the society. But the moment you enter into modern times, now a different set of ideas have come up. Now we are saying, no, the primary importance will be given to what you want, and whatever are the dictates of society, they are secondary. They are not primary. Why are we saying this? Because we are considering humans or individuals as more important, and their choice is more important to us than what is being told to us by religion. Now, this is a general change in the way in which we do things, and this is coming in modernity or modern times. And a lot of people have written. John Locke is one such person who has written about this. And John Locke says, you as a person, you are a free person, and you have choice, you have preference, and use that, and you will be leading your life as per those choice and preferences, which is a big change, because what we are doing is we are saying the society cannot dictate terms, the individual will dictate terms. And that is why this entity is getting more importance. You dictate the terms, you tell what needs to be done. Why is there this idea? I'll talk about that also, that why you have to do this. Coming back, free man. Before modern times, man is not free. Why it is not free? Because religion is holding man in shackles. Superstitions are holding man in shackles. You don't have science. You don't believe in the idea that it is the earth which is revolving around the sun. You don't believe in the idea. The belief is not this. Later on, science is proving that yes, it is the earth which is revolving around the sun, but you don't know at that point of time. You say that, okay, earth is flat. You don't know the earth is round. It is ignorance. A. Second, man is bound by the shackles of religion, superstition, dogma. All these things are not letting man be free. And liberalism is coming, and liberalism is saying you has to be a free man. We will unlock all the shackles which are there. The shackles will always be from these two entities. Either society will put shackles on you, or state is going to put. And you have to break free of the shackles. That's primary idea of liberalism. That is why liberalism will talk about liberty. And later on we'll define liberty. But that's the primary idea. And Why this is the idea? Because all of a sudden we are trying to have a certain kind of a break in our way of thinking. Whoever used to think differently than the church in the Europe, they used to get they used to invite the wrath of the church for thinking differently. And that is visible in the works of many scientists as well as political theorists of the times of 14th and 15th century Europe. Now I am saying you are free, you should think, and you should do whatever you feel like doing. So new ideas are coming up. This is the starting of liberalism. One of the most prominent political scientists during this time was John Locke, also called as father of liberalism. He is going to give us some ideas. And there are other people also, we'll be talking about other political theorists also. And they are going to give us ideas through which we will get to know that what is this new set of ideas? What was ideology? Set of ideas. What is this new set of ideas? It is going to tell us who the man is, what is society all about, what should be the role of state, how we have to make economic and social policy, and how the society should be governed. Everything the liberalism is going to tell us, because it is a new set of ideas which is coming up. This new set of ideas is rooted in the principle of free man or liberty. That's the most important thing for us. Now, during this time, I'll tell you, during the same time, the economic model is feudalism. Feudalism used to be the main mode of production. Feudalism is succeeded by capitalism, which is the main mode of production today. But if I talk about the Europe, and my discussion as of now is on Europe, we'll later on introduce other societies. But look, whenever we discuss ideologies or whenever we discuss these ideas, we will be having our discussion on Europe, because everything has developed in Europe. And because India was a colony, so independent thought was not there, or whatever the way of governance was, that was according to the colonial masters. So we don't study that what was happening in India at that point of time, or at least the eastern part of the globe. We are looking at all the developments which have happened in Europe, and gradually they have been transferred to other parts of the world. So that part will come when it comes. But as of now, feudalism in Europe, I'm talking about the time period before the 17th century. Because 17th century, and rather the later part of 17th century, 18th century is the time when this transition started happening in Europe, primarily England. Now, before we entered into this time period, during this time period of broadly the time period of before 17th century, the economic system is that of feudalism. And in feudalism, what we have is, we have a system whereby there is going to be a feudal lord and there is going to be a serf. That's my economic system. See, economic system means how we are producing. That is the meaning of economic system. Feudal lord has land and serf will come with his labor. He will work on this land and there will be a produce. Out of this produce, the labor will be provided a wage, and the remaining produce is the property of the feudal lord. The feudal lord owns land. Land is my asset, and the serf will provide the labor on the asset. Asset, you work on asset, labor, there is going to be this is economic activity basically. Economic activity is nothing but this. Okay. Now my economy is moving in this manner. From the produce, The wage is being paid. The remaining part, that is the property of the feudal lord. And this is how the system used to happen back then. What is the problem in the system? There is a big problem in the system. The problem in the system is that this person, which is the serf, he cannot have land. Serf cannot own land because land is not a transferable asset. Today it is a transferable asset, earlier it was not. Permanent settlement of Bengal, you will come across it in your modern Indian history. Permanent settlement. After that, land became a commodity which can be sold and bought. Before that, land cannot be sold. Land belongs to the king. The king may give it to further nobles. The king may give it to Brahmins. So these feudal lords are nothing but people who have been given land in one way or the other. And now the land belongs to them. So their next generation, they will own the land. Their next generation, they will own the land. But this person, serf, he can never own the land. And that's his misery. He has a problem with this. He says, why can't I own land? Why? Because till the time you don't own an asset, you will not get profit. Until the time you don't get profit, your prosperity, or you are not going to improve your economic situation, and you will not have prosperity. As simple as that. The wage cannot help you break the shackles of poverty. The problem with the serf is he also wants to own land. This serf is bound in this system. This economic system does not favor the serf. Plus, the social system, the serf, including the feudal lord, they are bound by dictates of religion. So this is shackled man. He wants to break free. Liberalism is coming and bringing ideas so that these economic shackles or the earlier religious shackles, they can be broken. That is the context of the emergence of liberalism. It emerges in the modern times when we are making a break from the medieval times. From the medieval times, we are entering into modern times, and this transition phase is bringing these new ideas, and this new idea is liberalism. Can you appreciate the idea, like why this idea is of relevance? Why saying that man, you are the maker of your own destiny? Religion will say that, okay, if you are not attending, if you're not observing a certain code of living, let's say religion will say that you have to uh, observe certain kind of rituals and you have to make pilgrimage. Religion will sanction all these things and religion will ask you to do all these things as a part of your living. But what if you don't do that? Religion is going to doom you. So you will be doomed. You may not get heaven, or you will remain a sinner, or bad karma will get attached to you. Religion is dooming you because of your actions in the life. And now we are saying, what's the basis of this? Because we are becoming more scientific. We are analyzing the natural phenomena and we are entering into that era whereby we realize that earth is not flat. We realize that the dictates of religion are not a overarching truth. They may be wrong also. And I am entering into a time period whereby man is saying, I'll use my logic, I'll use my reason, and I'll create my life instead of religion telling me that this is the life. I'm entering into that time. And that is why during that time, we are also going to come up. It's a relatively new idea. Man is a maker of his own destiny. This was not the idea earlier. The idea by religion was your destiny is fixed. Man says, no, I am the maker of my own world. I will make my own destiny. That's a new idea. Liberalism is going to promote that idea. Liberalism is accompanied with all these ideas. And that is why the time period was called as the time period of enlightenment and reformation. So we are entering into enlightened era, we are entering into reformation, and liberalism is going to become my political ideology. The remaining ideas are social ideas, economic ideas. Liberalism will tell me how with these ideas, let's make a new way of living. That is what liberalism will try to do. So when we talk about liberalism, we have understood the context of liberalism, in what context liberalism is coming. We have also seen one name, John Locke, who will be associated with it. Assumptions of liberalism. Liberalism believes in individualism. Individualism. Can you tell me what's the opposite of individualism? Liberalism believes in individualism. That is one thing. I'll explain you. What's the opposite of individualism otherwise? This triangle is my go-to triangle. Okay. We will be using it every now and then. What's the opposite of individualism? Who will tell me? What's the opposite of individualism? You tell me first, then I'll tell you. Anything, what comes to your mind, anything. Collectivism, very good. Collectivism. Collectivism, it's a group idea. Collective. Individualism, individual. I am more important than the group. What is group? This is group. This is individual. Who is more important? Supreme importance. Individualism means supreme importance given to an individual. The remaining entities, which is the society and the state, they will be secondary. That is what individualism is all about. So liberalism believes in individualism. Liberalism does not believe in groupism, collectivism. I don't know what is your ideology, what do you believe in, but yes. For you, is family more important or you are more important? Individual versus group. Family is also group. You are more important or your group identity, which is your identity as a part of a certain religion, your identity as a part of a certain caste, what is more important? Because all those are group identities. Individualism versus collectivism. Liberalism will say individualism. Okay. Then there is a belief in reason. You are reasonable. You can reason. If you believe that you are reasonable, a man is reasonable, then you are also saying that I don't need the paternal authority of religion or state. Otherwise, religion is telling me what to do. My entire life, what needs to be done? What should be the code of conduct? What should be my behavior? Religion used to tell. I am saying religion, you don't need to tell me. Why? I have reason. I will use that reason and I will take care of my conduct. Earlier societies, the paternal authority of religion or of state was considered important. Why? The belief was man cannot think for himself. Man is not reasonable. He is unreasonable, driven by his appetites and passions, and he can't reason. सही बात नहीं समझ आएगी उसको, वो अपने एपेटाइट्स, पैशंस, डिजायर्स के थ्रू ड्रिवन है, और डिजायर्स और रीजन दो अलग अलग चीजें हैं. बीइंग रीजनेबल पहले ये बिलीफ होना चाहिए, तो ये बिलीफ आया, एंड ये भी मॉडर्निटी के साथ आया है. इंडिविजुअलिज्म भी मॉडर्निटी के साथ आया है. लिबरल्स they believe in individualism. Liberals, they believe in reason. ये दो इंपॉर्टेंट आइडियाज है, दो इंपॉर्टेंट एजम्पशंस है लिबरलिज्म की. Any doubts at this point of time? Let me know. Okay, I think थोड़ा सा somebody is behind the lecture. They started probably late. Is the stream coming fine? Is there any kind of a lag in the stream? Do let me know if there is some problem with the volume, or is there any kind of a lag. I don't think so there should be, but just feel free to message and let me know if there are any kinds of technical issues. Then belief in freedom of an individual. See, if you are reasonable, then you will enjoy freedom. If you are not reasonable, then others will come and say, don't do this. Let me tell you what to be done. Then you will not be free. You can enjoy freedom, you can enjoy liberty, but the pretext is that you are reasonable. Unreasonable person cannot enjoy freedom. And if you believe, see, it's a belief. We are not saying that you are reasonable or somebody is unreasonable. It's a belief that generally, it's a belief that man is a reasonable creature. If he is a reasonable creature, he will get freedom to enjoy what he wants. My good life. What's conception of good life? How do you view good life? What is your conception of good life? For example, you will become IS officers and then it will be a good life. That can be your conception of good life in a very, very narrow sense. My conception of good life today varies from person to person. Somebody would want to achieve a lot, power, money, and then they would say that it's a good life. Somebody is more satisfied in the in somebody is more satisfied in let's say in an environment where they get friends, where they are with family, and they get to spend a lot of time, and they have people around them all the time. That's good life. For somebody else, high achievers, they may go lonely, they might not have friends, and yet they'll call their life as good life. For somebody having material pleasures of the life, that is a good life. Good life varies from person to person. We believe now that you are reasonable, you will get freedom, and you can then define your good life and you can follow your good life. We are not going to judge you per se. Earlier, the religion used to judge you. The religion would say, no, this is good life, and this all things you have to do in life, and that's the right way of living. Now we don't have. First, believe in reason. Belief in reason will give me freedom. These are major assumptions of liberalism. After this, I'll move towards the other concepts. But whenever liberalism is being discussed, belief in individualism, belief in reason, belief in freedom of a man. That's the core of liberalism. Okay. Now, after the assumptions of liberalism, I want to discuss with you the conceptions of man, society, and state for liberals. But before that, let's write few things. So what you do, you make the subheading liberalism and start writing. Right. The central theme of liberalism, is commitment to individual. The central theme of liberalism is commitment to individual. The central theme of liberalism is commitment to individual and the desire to construct a society and the desire to construct a society and the desire to construct a society in which people can satisfy their interests, in which people can satisfy their interests and realize fulfillment. And realize fulfillment. Full stop. Liberals believe that human beings are rational creatures. Liberals believe that human beings are rational creatures which can take independent decisions for themselves. Which can take independent decisions for themselves. Which can take individual decisions for themselves. Which can take independent decisions for themselves. Next paragraph. As a political ideology, liberalism emerged in the ideas of John Locke. As a political ideology, liberalism emerged in the ideas of John Locke. Full stop. It saw practical manifestations. It saw practical manifestations during the 17th and 18th century AD. It saw practical manifestations during the 17th and 18th century AD. Full stop. The English, American, and French revolutions. The English, French, and American revolutions were heavily inspired by the liberal ideas. Were heavily inspired by the liberal ideas. Next paragraph. Liberals challenged the absolute power of monarchy. Liberals challenged the absolute power of monarchy, they criticized the political and economic privileges. They criticized the economic and political privileges of the landed aristocracy Landed aristocracy means that aristocratic element of the society who used to own land. Continue. After full stop, right? They even criticized the unfairness of feudal system. They even criticized the unfairness of feudal system in which, first write this part, I'll explain this part, in which social positions were determined by accidents of birth, in which social positions were determined by accidents of birth instead of ability and merit. Instead of ability and merit. Full stop. Same paragraph after full stop. Last line. Further, the liberals Further, the liberals criticized the absolute authority of church, and supported freedom of conscience. Now listen to me. Before I enter into the modern times, how are things organized in the society? In the political sphere, I have monarchy. Monarch, he is ruling, and monarchy basically is the idea whereby the head of the state, which for us was the king, the office of the king, it's a hereditary position. That means once somebody is a king, now nobody else can be a king. The crown will basically move within the family from generation to generation. That is what monarchy is all about. Political way of living. So I have, in the political domain, I have monarchy. Why should only one family get the ability to run the country? Why can't somebody else run the country? Why can't somebody else become the king? But that was the system back then, medieval times. In the political domain, I have monarchy. Then, when it comes to the economic domain, what I have is I have feudalism, whereby again the land is being transferred from feudal lord to feudal lord, and just because somebody is born into the family of serf, they don't get opportunities. Their life or the opportunity for their life to be improved, that is not there. Today, this is not the case. Today, anybody with a college degree and 21 years of age can write civil services examination. This is opportunity. Opportunity was not available to everyone back then. In this case, there's no opportunity to even buy the land. Not there. So the problem is, my economic domain is going to give benefits to person who is born in, let's say, the family of a feudal lord, but others, they are not going to get any opportunity to improve their lives. That's a wrong system. On top of that, what I have is, I have aristocrats. And aristocrats, they enjoy privileges. You understand privileges? Privileges means special rights. Special rights. In the morning, I again give reference. In the morning, I was teaching polity and we were discussing preamble. And the preamble to the Indian Constitution mentions equality of status. If you go and read the preamble, it's written equality of status. How will you have equality of status? For this, the system cannot allow privileges. Some people, I'll give the example of the French society. In the society of France, the aristocrats, they enjoyed special rights where they were not supposed to pay taxes, but the normal common people, they had to pay taxes. Today, you don't have that kind of a system. You can't have a class of people who will not pay taxes. No, taxes are applied to everyone. That is a separate thing, that you can evade taxes. But the idea that taxes are applicable to everyone and nobody will get a special right, that idea is because we want to say that just because you are born in this family, you will not get a special treatment. No. But this is again a new idea. Back then, the aristocrats, they used to enjoy privileges. So this is a problem. Try to understand who will have a problem if you are giving special privileges to someone. Definitely somebody who's not a part of the system. So somebody who's not an aristocrat is feeling the heat. Somebody who is a serf is feeling the heat. Somebody who can never be a king is not, is in a kind of a society which is not conducive to their well-being. So they are going to come up with these ideas. They are saying in the political domain you have monarchy, in economic domain you have feudalism, plus the aristocrats are enjoying privileges, and when it comes to the social domain, you have the absolute authority of church. That means church is going to tell you what you have to do, and you can't go against that. This was life before the modern times. And the moment liberals are coming, they are challenging everything. They are challenging everything. They are saying, instead of monarchy, can't we have a republic? A republic is where the head of the state is elected. It's not a hereditary office. For example, India is a republic. The head of the state is elected. Instead of monarchy, can't we have republic? Instead of feudalism, whereby land is an asset, is only owned by feudal lords, can't we have a system whereby land can be owned by anyone? Can't we have, instead of feudalism, capitalism? Can't we have a system whereby the serf can also own the land? Can't we have a system whereby there will be no special rights and everyone will be equal? Can't we have a system whereby I can question the teachings of church because they may also be problematic, because the church is saying the earth does not revolve around the sun. Church is saying that. Can't I question that? Liberals are going to question the entire way the society was functioning. Political, economic, social domain. That is what liberalism is all about. And to challenge all this, first they had to say that this is how things should be done. So this is the theoretical framework. This is the practical system which was going on, which is being challenged. And next I'll be creating a new system, whereby we will have republics also, we'll have capitalism also, we'll have liberty, we'll have equality. Now try to relate. If you have not done your French Revolution in your world history class, uh, we'll not be doing French Revolution. It's not a part of uh, our course. But when you do this as a part of your general studies, or in general, if you have heard about French Revolution, everybody has heard about French Revolution. The slogan of French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty, equality. The liberals are going to talk about liberty. The liberals will talk about here that no, privileges should not be given. This entire genesis is starting from here. What is about to come? In the American Revolution, in the French Revolution, the ideas are coming up. This is my old system. This is the theoretical basis of a new system, and I'll be creating a new system a little later. Okay. So that is what we are doing. I hope you are with me on this. Any kinds of doubts, feel free to ask. Next, you write, this was the introduction to liberalism. Next, you write major assumptions of liberalism. Major assumptions of liberalism. Major assumptions of liberalism. Right. First point. Write this in point form. Belief in individualism. Belief in individualism. Right. First, we'll define individualism. So, right. So, make the heading belief in individualism. I beg your pardon. The heading is assumptions of liberalism. Then the first point is belief in individualism, and put a hyphen and write. See, we'll be very particular in how we make notes. And I'll also suggest you that whatever scribblings I'm doing on the board, either you keep on noting them down at the maybe the back side of your copy, and the front side of the copy can be for the notes which will be dictated. Or what you can do is you can make a margin so that you keep on writing. Maybe in the 40% of the space you have, you keep on taking down the scribblings, and in the 60% of the space you keep it for dictation, because I will be doing this activity. Although the general tendency would be that first we will understand the idea and then we will do the dictation and we'll write it. But despite that, sometimes a lot of things are written here, they may not be here. So it's always better. And in my personal opinion, when we do it, when we do the take the scribblings and then we write, then the entire process is going to leave a is going to help us remember and memorize a lot of things. So in my personal opinion, this is how you should do. Otherwise, you can have your own system, but uh, keep on taking down the scribblings as well as the dictation. See, dictation hai. You'll have to come daily for the class. Daily, I'll be giving you dictation, or you can make friends with the others. And if you are not coming for the class, then you can take the notes from there. But okay, jokes aside, you should come for the class daily. Uh, Belief in individualism, put a hyphen and write. Individualism is the belief in supreme importance of an individual. Underline this line. Individualism is the belief in supreme importance of an individual over any other social group, over any other social group or a collective body, over any other social group or a collective body. Continue after full stop. For liberals, society is aggregation of individuals. For liberals, society is aggregation of individuals who are driven by their self-interest. Who are driven by their self-interest. Second point, belief in reason. Belief in reason. Put a hyphen and write. Liberalism as an ideology, I beg your pardon, liberalism as an ideology is a central part of Enlightenment project. Liberalism as an ideology is a central part of Enlightenment project. Full stop. Enlightenment placed a heavy emphasis. Enlightenment placed a heavy emphasis on the ability of humans to reason, on the ability of humans to reason I'll repeat, Enlightenment placed a heavy emphasis on the ability of humans to reason, full stop. This capability to reason, this capability to reason is needed to overcome the bondage of superstition and ignorance. This capability to reason is needed to overcome the bondage of superstition and ignorance. full stop. The humans, the humans were made an agency to take independent decisions. The humans were made the agency to take independent decisions full stop. As a result, liberalism questioned the paternal authority. As a result, liberalism questioned the paternal authority. Paternal समझते हो ना? The paternal authority. So parents, they enjoy authority because they are there to protect you and they can then tell you what needs to be done. So that's the paternal authority. So the paternal authority was enjoyed by religion also, state also, because the belief is man is not reasonable. So man needs to be guided. Now we are saying, no, no, you're wrong. Man is reasonable. He does not need the paternal authority. So we are writing as a result, what you have written as a result, the as a result, liberals or liberalism questioned the paternal authority of religion and the king. Religion and the king. So we'll be using the term king and state interchangeably. Okay. King is state, state is king. Earlier, not now. Done. So major assumptions of liberalism. Okay, no. So we have done belief in reason. Now write the third, belief in freedom. Belief in freedom. How do you identify yourself? Are you an individualistic person, or do you think that the collective concerns are more important and you will give in to the collective concerns and you will let go of your preferences or choices? Where do you recognize yourself? Are we an individualistic society or are we a collectivist society? If I talk about the Indian society, uh, and uh, okay, I'm not giving you a time period, but I mean generally asking you a question that how do you look at the Indian society, and where do you classify yourself as an individualist or collectivist? So that is going to uh, determine a lot of actions which you take. Anyway, it's a rhetorical question. I don't need the answer. So it's just a question which I would want you to think, and over a period of time, we'll be doing a lot of discussion, but I don't want to give you everything. I would want you to think something for yourself. And third point, belief in freedom. Continue writing. A belief in the supreme importance. Put a hyphen and write. A belief in the supreme importance of an individual. A belief in the supreme importance of an individual naturally leads to a commitment to individual freedom. Naturally leads to a commitment to individual freedom. As of now, we'll be using the term freedom and liberty interchangeably. Later on, we'll make a distinction between them also. Continue. I'll repeat. A belief in the supreme importance of an individual naturally leads to a commitment to individual liberty or individual freedom. Continue after full stop. Individual liberty for liberals. Individual liberty for liberals is a supreme political ideal. Individual liberty for liberals is a supreme political ideal. Is a supreme political ideal. Political ideal means something which we intend to achieve or somewhere where we want to go. Ideal. It's ideal. होता है ना कि बेस्ट पॉसिबल क्या हो सकता है, आइडियल, पॉलिटिकल आइडियल. तो बहुत बड़ा पॉलिटिकल आइडियल है दैट people should be free, there should be liberty or freedom. So we are saying it's a supreme political ideal, and it unifies all the liberals. Underline this line, unifies all the liberals. You'll get the context of this a little later. Abhi likh lo. And unifies all the liberals. The moment we say all the liberals, that means there is more than one liberalism. Liberalism further is of various kinds: the classical liberalism, modern liberalism, neoliberalism, libertarianism, these are the major ones which are identified for further liberal thoughts within the broader liberal thought. They'll vary in their conceptualizations. We'll talk about that. All of them are united in the fact that freedom should be there. Okay. What is the meaning of that? Wait for it. I have classical liberals, modern liberals, neoliberals, libertarianism as the four major strands. The minor strands later on, or let me add here itself. I'll add one more strand, which is that of social liberals or social liberalism. Okay. What distinguishes them? We'll talk about that part. Wait for it. Now, I have provided you a context in which liberalism came as an ideology. We have also seen the major assumptions of liberalism. Now, what I want you to do is, now I want you to understand that the first or the primitive thoughts in the liberal ideology were called as the classical liberal ideology. Later on, some thoughts, they kept on evolving, and we made this transition slowly and steadily. But the first form of liberalism which came was that of classical liberalism. Classical liberalism essentially is the liberalism of 17th, 18th, and even 19th century. So whatever thoughts emerged in Europe in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, we have categorized them together and called it the classical liberal thought. Later on, the first half of 20th century saw the coming of another school of thought called as modern liberalism. The second half of 20th century saw the coming of neoliberalism, and the later or the last, you can say, stages of 20th century and the starting of 21st century, this is where we saw the libertarianism coming. Social liberalism emerged again towards the later half or second half of 20th century and continued in 21st century. Meaning, these three, they are of recent origin. Okay. This last 100 years came around 1920s, 30s. That's when the writings are going on. And this one is the oldest, classical liberals. We'll be starting with first this, and then we'll move forward. Now, in every school of thought, we have some set of thinkers who we have to follow, okay? Or whose ideas basically shaped the entire school of thought. Here, classical liberals includes John Locke. It includes Adam Smith. Adam Smith is also called as the father of classical economics. John Locke is called as the father of liberalism. Then we have David Ricardo. He, along with Adam Smith, they were instrumental in laying the economic foundations of liberalism. Then we have Herbert Spencer. These are the major people associated with classical liberal thought. We'll see their ideas, wait for it. Now, before I move forward with respect to classical liberal thought, I also want to give you a brief insight. We'll not be going into this part today. We'll try to restrict our discussion to this part today. And maybe this will also come in the later time. I would want to restrict myself to this today. Okay. This is the political continuum which we use to understand the various set of ideas. So depending on which set of ideas interest you, inspire you, and is able to convince you, you may be inspired by liberal ideas. You may be inspired by conservative ideas. You may be inspired by ultra-conservative ideas, which we'll call later on as fascism. You may be inspired by socialist ideas or ultra-socialist ideas called as communism. This is my political continuum, whereby the liberals, they are in the center. The more I start moving towards right, the more belief in traditional way of things and the more belief that the state has to do limited function comes into being. The more traditional I am, the meaning of this is I value traditional way of doing things. I will start moving towards right. This is extreme right. How this is different, that will also come. Wait for it. The more acceptable I am to change and ready to change my social institutions, not myself. I have to change my institutions. What are institutions? Family. Family is one institution. So should we go for same-sex marriage or not? That will change the institution of marriage, because the institution of marriage traditionally has been an institution between heterosexual people. It is not an institution between homosexual people. But if I am open to the idea that maybe my social institution of family can now change to accommodate the homosexual also, I am slowly moving towards left. I'm not saying that, okay, it is here or here or here or here or here. No. All I'm saying is we are moving towards left. That's how we try to conceptualize right and left. And I've told you only one component on right and left. There are many components which we'll understand later on. But one component which we have done today is the more traditional I am, the more towards right I am. The more open to change I am, the more towards left I am. The more questions I ask from the state, and the more I put the state in a position whereby they have to answer my questions and they have to justify their policies, the more left I am. The more I believe in what the state is doing and making state stronger and not asking a lot of questions, the more towards the right I'm going. Two aspects. One, tradition. Second, the role of state. As of now, I have discussed only two aspects. See, earlier what used to happen was those people who used to question the king and king's policies, they used to sit on the left of the king. If the king is sitting here, then people who are sitting on the left, and this is the case of UK, where the people who are sitting to the left of the king, they used to question and they used to oppose the policies of the king. And on the contrary, the supporters of the king, they used to sit on the right. And from there comes the conceptualization of right or left. Liberals are somewhere in between. Okay. So something in between is coming, and it is trying to move the society from this side to this side. Later on, socialism will try to move the society towards this side. Okay. Traditional way of doing thing is monarchy is there, aristocracy is there, feudal lords are there, absolute authority of church. I want to make changes. I'm only discussing this part. This part will be discussed in much more detail when we talk about social contract. But where does right and left come from? Are you on the right of the king or are you on the left of the king? Back then, are you questioning and opposing the king? King is what? State. So are you questioning the state? You'll come towards this side. Are you with the state? You'll come towards this side. Okay. This is my center. Right, left. This is just a way of understanding. I'm not saying that we will always be able to say that this party is central party, this party is rightist. For example, in India, BJP is considered to be a rightist party. And we have the Communist Party of India towards the left. Congress, center party, but left leaning. More policies are towards the left, not towards the right. It's difficult for me or for anyone to classify everything in binaries or white and black. It's very difficult. We can't do that actually. Social sciences, we can't do 1, 0, we can't do true, false. Somewhere in between lies things. So we can be center, we can be having our ideology such that we are in the center. We may be right leaning, we may be left leaning, or we may be rightist, or we may be leftist, or we may be ultra right, we may be ultra left. That's how we'll look at things. Liberalism, when it is coming, because it is challenging things which are going on, it is making this entire continuum or the society which is here is being brought here. Socialism will try to move it here. And this push and pull will keep on happening. This is never going to end. Now, just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. This I just wanted to share with you, these few details. This we'll be talking about in much more detail as we move forward. I don't want to simply talk about this now. You will not be able to absorb everything. It is not possible for you to absorb everything of this today. Over a period of time, we'll be able to do that. Okay. Yes. So this is where we were. Classical liberalism, I told you. This time period. Modern liberalism will come later on. Okay, starting with classical liberalism. Adam Smith. The way to understand classical liberalism is through this particular statement. The only fair is laissez-faire. The statement in a very, very, you can say, comprehensive manner will try to capture the essence of classical liberalism. The only fair is laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means leave me alone. And the only fair is laissez-faire means leave me alone. Who should leave who alone? From what sphere? Now, as a student of political science, we will start thinking of things from political, economic, social sphere. That's how we'll start looking at things. Okay. The only fair is laissez-faire. The only fair is leave me alone. That's very, very important idea for classical liberals. In economic sphere, leave me alone. In social sphere, leave me alone. And in political sphere, leave me alone. How to make sense of this? Let's see. I have classical liberals coming up. We have seen the context of classical liberals. Now the classical liberals are going to do what? They are going to first provide me some conceptualizations. They will say who is man and what is the human nature. Stay with me. It will all make sense in a little while when I tell you all the concepts. What is human nature? Who we are? Are we competitive beings? Are we cooperative beings? We talked about this very briefly yesterday also. Cooperative versus competitive. So concept of human nature is that for classical liberals, man is competitive, man is self-interested, and self-interest will guide man. Okay, that is the concept of human nature. The concept of society is that society is a marketplace. What is marketplace? It's a place where you come so that you can realize your self-interest. That's the basic idea. It's a place where you come to realize your self-interests. It's like a mandi. You go to a mandi, mandi is a marketplace. You go to a supermarket, it's a marketplace. You realize your interest, and in a very crude example, you buy the products which you want, you pay the money, and you come back. That's it. There is no sentimentality, there is no emotion. It's a place where transactions happen. Marketplace is where transactions happen. So you go to a marketplace, you interact with other humans, you sell your capabilities, or you indulge in demand and supply. That's it. Finish. That's how they view society. How they view human nature: competitive, self-interested. Self-interested human being cannot think about the interest of other because I am self-interested. I can think about my interest. I can't think about your interests. And if I can't think about your interests, I will not be cooperative. I can cooperate when I think of your interest also, and collectively we can work. But classical liberals don't think of man as that kind of a being. They say man is self-interested, driven by their self-interest, not cooperative. That's the view. I'm not saying that is this the right view, or we are not questioning here that this conceptualization is problematic. Later on, we'll criticize, but as of now, what is the view? This is the view. Because using this view, I'm going to finally come to an order. Concept of human nature, competitive, self-interested. Concept of society, marketplace. Concept of state, evil. State is evil, but necessary evil. Very, very important concept. State is evil, but necessary evil. Okay. Meaning of this, wait for it. Go back. The only fair is laissez-faire. Leave me alone. I am self-interested. I want to go into economic sphere. I want to interact with the forces of demand and supply. And by interacting with the forces of demand and supply, at the end of the day, I am going to realize my self-interest. For this, you don't interfere. You don't interfere. Leave me alone. Don't interfere in what occupation I can follow or what occupation should I pursue. Don't interfere in telling me that this is the ritual you have to follow. This is the way in which you should live. No. I am individual. I am reasonable. I can take my own decisions, and leave me alone. That is what the classical liberals are saying in the 17th, 18th century. Okay. Because you have to leave me alone, society, stand aside. State, please stand aside. Not only this, the state is considered to be evil. Why is this the case? Because the state is going to make laws, and the laws are going to interfere with your liberty. And for a classical liberal, liberty is very, very important, rather supreme political ideal, to the extent that this liberty, which they are defining as absence of restraints or constraints. Liberty is absence of constraints or restraints. Who will apply restraints or constraints? The state. How? Via laws. So this entity is evil because it interferes with my liberty. But I still need it. Why do I need it? I'll come to that part. Conceptualization. Human nature, self-interested. Society, marketplace. State, evil, necessary evil. Okay. How many of you have heard about Adam Smith? And what's the main idea of Adam Smith? Anyone? Anyone with economics background? And they know what's the main idea of Adam Smith? He's a classical liberal. Father of classical economy also. He's a classical liberal also. What is the main idea which is being put forward by him? Can you tell me? Anyone? I'll give you some keywords. As of now, I'm simply explaining you. I'll be giving you a lot of keywords for this human nature, society, and state. Wait for it. Concept of state is evil. Now listen to me. Anybody who will interfere with my liberty, they will not be looked, or they will not be in the liberal literature, they will not be given importance, and rather they'll be looked down. Adam Smith, he is a classical liberal, and he is saying in the economic domain, state, you should not interfere. In the economic domain, you should not interfere. If I talk about the economic policy to be pursued by the state, the economic policy is that of no intervention. Adam Smith has written a book. The book is Wealth of Nations. And the main idea of Adam Smith is that if you want to have wealth, who wants to have wealth? Nations have to want to have wealth. Then what the nations need to do is they should not intervene in the economic domain. So they should not try to manipulate the demand. They should not try to infuse money or take away money. In economics, you will be reading a lot about the role of RBI and how RBI manages liquidity. You'll also be reading about fiscal policy of the government, in which the government comes up with measures to raise revenue via taxes, and the government also comes up with measures to boost demand in the country by providing for construction activities, by providing for employment, by providing for subsidies. So government is basically a very, very strong player in the economy. Adam Smith does not want this. Back then, he's saying, if you want to build wealth, the wealth of the nations will be created if the state does not interfere in the economy. In the economy, leave man alone. Let him be the producer, be the consumer. Let the demand and supply cycle take care of each other. And that's how everyone will be prosperous. That is his viewpoint. That is also adopted by the classical liberals, which are saying no intervention in the economic domain. Can I relate it to the laissez-faire? Leave me alone. Leaving alone man in economic sphere. Now, if I talk about social policy, what should the state do in societal domain? First, let man do what he feels like. Religion should not dictate in the social sphere. Second, what you need to do is you should not go and start doing welfare. Why are we associating welfare with social domain? If the society is poor or if there are disadvantageous sections in the society, in our society we have in the form of Dalits, we have in the form of LGBTQ plus community, uh, we have it in the form of women because they have not been given the opportunity, we have it in the form of let's say specially abled. Should the state do something for them? Classical liberals are saying no. In the social domain, you don't have to do anything. No welfare activities. That is what is their suggestion. Here also, no welfare activities. Okay. Now, if you see, generally, as we move forward, we are going to be focusing on these 5 parameters to make a society. We'll talk what is human nature, how the society looks like to humans, what should be the role of state, and especially the role of state with respect to economic and social sphere. Through this, we'll try to conceptualize the society. And we are conceptualizing a liberal society as of now. So liberalism is saying man who is self-interested, competitive, and I'll give you a keyword for this now. Man is competitive, self-interested, egoistic individualism. Egoistic individualism has a negative connotation where man cannot think about others. He's incapable. That's their view. So it has a negative connotation attached to it. Then I have the concept of society, which is a marketplace. And liberals will say man is prior to society. That means the society is secondary, human is primary. What's the relevance of this? The relevance of this has to be understood through the triangle. What is more important? Okay. If I talk about a socialist or even a person who is a conservative, meaning if I talk about people who will be classified here or here, they will not say man is more important than society. They'll say society is more important than man. Or collectivism triumphs individualism. They'll say that. Collectivism, individualism. Liberals will say in this dynamic, this is more important. Not everyone will say this. Liberals are saying this. Traditionalists, conservatives, socialists, later on we'll talk about terms like idealists, all will say society is more important. Liberals are saying no, man is more important, man is prior to society. And society is simply a marketplace where transactions will take place. Then state is evil, though evil, it is a necessary evil. I'll talk about this a little bit more, wait for it. It is evil because it is going to restrict my liberty by placing constraints or restraints on me in the form of laws. So I have a problem there. Economic policy, no intervention. Social policy, no welfare activities. Before I move forward, here I forgot one part. No intervention in economic domain plus equality of opportunity. Now, the liberal had a problem with this. Remember, the liberal had a problem with special rights. Liberals will never justify special rights. Liberals will say no, no special rights, but yes, everyone should be given the opportunity to make good of their life. So the moment I say equality of opportunity, I am basically suggesting a meritocratic society. This is not a meritocratic society because the resources are not distribution on the basis of merit. Here, the resources distribution is on the basis of where you are born. What is your religion, what is your caste, what is, let's say, your class. No, that is wrong. Liberals are saying. So in the economic domain, you have to provide equality of opportunity, but otherwise, no economic management has to be there. Liberals' viewpoint. Is there any kind of a doubt in this particular ideas? Please let me know very quickly, and then I'll move forward. If you don't have any other doubts, any doubt in this particular ideas, then I'll move forward. If you have any doubts, now is the time to ask the question. See, equality of opportunity is good. Welfare activities not doing this is something which will not be able to digest. Saying man is competitive, self-interested to the extent that he can't think about the concerns of others. Here again, we have a problem in the sense that we see cooperation in man also. Then, then society, this is also not something which is acceptable by most of the world, but Western world accepts this, whereby they say individual is more important than society. At this point of time, if you talk about the Indian Constitution, the moment I talk about the humans, or beg your pardon, the moment I talk about an individual and I give more importance to individual, that is when I venture into the domain of fundamental rights. But if I give more importance to society, I venture into the domain of DPSP. And now, is fundamental right more important than DPSP or DPSP more important than fundamental right? This has been a separate legal battle altogether in India. It's a very difficult thing to say that, okay, individual is more important than society. You can't neglect society. At the same time, you can't simply say that individual will be subsumed because of the benefit of the society, because that has been happening in the previous societies, whereby the society would tell you what needs to be done, and that has also been exploitative, whereby let's say your choices and your preferences are being subsumed so as to align with the morality of the society. That can be problematic also. Okay. The best example for that is homosexuals. The collective morality of the society said that homosexuality is a problem. It's a sin. As per the Victorian morality, homosexuality was a sin. But the moment I change my outlook, and today's society does not consider it that way, to the extent that we consider it as a part of a choice or a preference. That's how Supreme Court puts it. It's a preference of an individual. The sexual orientation is a preference. It's a choice of an individual. So you can't tell them that this is right or wrong. No. Earlier it used to be the case. And that's a huge problem. Okay. That's a huge problem. So liberals are right in the sense that individuals should be given more importance than society. But I can't also have a situation whereby for the concern of a single individual, I let go of the common good of the society. I'll have to somehow balance, but they are not balanced. They are placing more emphasis on individual. Okay. So this is a part which I have to discuss. State is evil. It is necessary evil. Simply because of the reason that state is going to interfere with my liberty, I don't look at state as an institution which is a benevolent institution or which is an institution which will favor me in any particular way. Here you need to understand that during this time, we are changing the way we look at the state. Earlier, the state in the form of king is looked at as an institution which has some divine authority, and the command of that authority was considered to be final to the extent that what they are saying is essentially beneficial for the entire society. Now we are saying state because you are going to restrict my liberty, so I don't look at you as an institution which is helping me in realizing a good life. On the contrary, I look at you as an institution which will restrict me. So I have a problem. In that context, you are evil. But I also have some limitations, and for that I'll need you. So I consider you as a evil, but a necessary evil. Now, evil part we have understood. Why is state necessary? So here comes the idea that to appreciate the necessary part, and because you all don't come from the background of social sciences, or at least a lot of you don't come from the background of social sciences, you have to understand how we created state. For this, a hypothetical experiment has to be done, and I'll ask you to consider yourself as a part of a group. Let's say there is a group, and this group is aspirants of civil services. Okay, it's a group. It's a group of 100 people, aspirants of civil services. And now all these aspirants are taken to an island. The moment I take all these aspirants to an island and I leave them there, and I said, okay, now you live yourself. Okay, you create your political order, you create your economic order, you create your social order. That activity you have to do. So there are 100 people, 100 aspirants of the or UPSC CSC. They are being dumped on an island, and they are asked to create rules and regulations for themselves. So the first thing will happen is, what's the common viewpoint with respect to what we want, who we are, and how we want to do things? All these aspirants, they are on an island, and now on that island, everyone is thinking the first thing which we have to take care of is that all of us 100 people, we should be secure and we should be able to procure food. Everything else will come later on. Security and survival, that is the primary instinct. If you are secure and if you can get food, then the next third, fourth, fifth things will come. So the first thing is security. You all need security. How will you have security? So you all decided that out of 100 people, we'll nominate few people and we will ask them that your task is to take care of the security. We do this activity now also. Who takes care of our security? Security at the borders or in general law and order. So who will protect us from enemies? Pakistan, China, or who is going to take care of law and order? I need an agency. Obviously, we have police, we have armed forces today, but they are part of the state. So I have to create an entity which is going to take care of the security. And then what I'll do, once the security is taken care of, once you are on that island and you have secured yourself, let's assume there is another tribe living nearby and they are hostile and they will attack you. So first you'll have to take care of your security. So you are going to appoint people and you are going to say, okay, you tell us what needs to be done so that we are secure. So those people are going to tell you what all initiatives you have to take, what all steps you have to take, what all capabilities you have to develop, what all SOPs you have to follow so that we are able to protect ourselves. That is something which the state does today, and we all agree to that. We will do it. So Operation Sindoor is going on. No media will go and do the live telecast of the movement of the defense forces. Security is taken care of on the island. Now everyone will go and try to do their thing, in which obviously the first thing would be they will try to procure food. Now we are saying procurement of food will kickstart an economy, because you procure food, you will start living there, you will start exploiting the resources of that particular island. Somebody is going to go and, let's say, catch animals and cook them and eat. Somebody is going to, let's say, go and procure fruits and is going to eat that. And at the same time, they're also going to barter that, okay, you give me your animal which you have procured and I want to eat non-vegetarian. The other will say, no, I want to have fruit, so you can give it to me. Barter will also start. That's the kickstart of an economy. On that island, now we are doing all these things. The problem comes when A and B, A said, I will give you my produce, and in return, B said, I will give you the fish which I have caught. This is a contract. Let's call it a contract between two people. You give me this, I'll give you this. We have a contract. Okay, you and I have a contract. You have paid me, I am giving you the lectures for PSIR. The problem is, what if one of the persons don't live up to their end of bargain? What if tomorrow I say, oh, no, you have given me money, now you go, I will not give you lectures. I am not living up to my end of the bargain. What will you do? You will go to court. You will go to police. You will say, oh, this sir took money from us and now he is not giving us lectures. There's a contract going on between you and me. Society has a contract. Every day we enter into contracts, but we need some agency to which we can go in case the other individual does not live up to their end of the bargain. And there comes the next function of state: enforcement of contracts. Classical liberals are those 100 people on the island, and they are saying, I need state to provide me security. I need state so that state can enforce the contracts. I don't need state to procure food. No, there is food. I will go and procure it. But I would want that the people who we all are dealing with things, we are working in a manner whereby we live up to our end of the bargain. That is very important. Otherwise, there will be chaos in the society. Because if I am not getting something for what I am giving you, और you are breaking the promise, then what will I do? मैं तुम्हारा गला पकड़ लूंगा, मैं कहूंगा ऐसे कैसे कर दिया, फिर क्या होगा? फिर लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन है, फिर केओस होगा. वो नहीं चाहते हम. वाई? वी वांट स्टेबिलिटी सो दैट वी कैन डू व्हाट वी वांट टू डू. At the end of the day, I want liberty because I want to do what I want to do. I want to lead a good life. So, state, I know you are going to be there and your laws are going to restrict me. But despite that, I know that for these two functions, I need you. That is the necessary part. The evil part is related to liberty. The necessary part is related to the bare minimum functions which I want the state to do. And I don't want you, state, to do anything else. What is anything else? I don't want you to intervene in the economy. I don't want you to come and start doing welfare activities. No. If somebody is not able to procure food for themselves, that's their problem. You don't have to come and give subsidy. Ye lo, anaj, PDS. No, you don't have to do that. But you have to ensure that everybody gets the opportunity. Everybody should have the opportunity on that island to exploit the resources which are present there based on their capabilities. And once they have done it, they are free to exchange it in the economy, demand and supply, and that's how we will make our society. This is the classical liberal conception. Because I am asking the state not to do any more functions except these two, I'm going to call this state as a minimal state. A minimal state, a night watchman state, night's watchman, I beg your pardon, night's watchman. A watchman in the night is expected to only do one thing: take care of the fact that everything is fine. Okay, protect us from any kind of a theft or robbery. वॉचमैन का काम ये होता है ना, रात को बैठा है, नजर रख रहा है, विजिल रख रहा है, सुपरविजन रख रहा है, बस. उसके अलावा जाकर ऐसा उसको कोई और काम नहीं करना है. The night's watchman does not have any other per se work except to keep vigil. When we are saying the state, you have to do minimal functions, then we are giving these names to the state. And third will be the laissez-faire state. So this is how the classical liberals are conceptualizing everything. My state is necessary evil, my state is minimal, my state is night's watchman state, my state is laissez-faire state. It does not intervene in the economy, but it allows for equality of opportunity. It will not do any welfare activities. At the same time, once this is taken care of, man is going to go to the marketplace, which is society. Man is going to sell his capabilities. Man is going to derive out of those selling these capabilities. He is going to derive, let's say, money, and he is going to live his life the way he wants to. This religion is not going to come as such. The state is not going to come as such. State will make laws, but for the general governance. The state will not tell man what needs to be done. In that context, he is free to do whatever he wants to. So, what we are doing is, through this equality of opportunity, we are allowing anyone to go and occupy the highest office also. All political offices are open to you. You can apply for that, and you can indulge in competitive politics and maybe come to the topmost position. This position is not only restricted for some families or a particular family, sorry. Changing this order. In the economic sphere, using the equality of opportunity, a merit-based society, you can accumulate land, you can accumulate wealth, you can accumulate any kind of assets. Aristocrats, there will be no special rights given to anyone. It is going to be a meritocratic society. Church is not going to interfere and tell you, you should do this, otherwise there will be repercussions. No. I am changing the entire system. I have also included some small aspects of capitalism, which I'll discuss later on, a little later on, but it is inherent in the discussion. I'll tell you how later on. So, this is my classical liberalism. This classical liberalism is the starting point of our political ideologies. Now, this is very important because what we are going to do after this is we are going to keep changing one aspect or the other, and we are going to keep on making small changes in the society. And this has been going on since the last oddly 200 years, okay, or at least 150 years definitely. So small things will keep on changing because some ideas are coming. These ideas will then be challenged, and we'll keep on changing things so as to keep moving in the society. That's what we are doing. Okay, now I'll stop here today. Tomorrow, what we'll do, first we will I'll give you some dictation for this part. Then we will see how the classical liberalism, due to its problems, led to the rise of modern liberalism. And this journey we'll keep on taking forward till this time. This is my entire topic of liberalism. Okay. I hope this makes sense to you. I hope you got to know something. And the dictation part, from tomorrow, it will increase. I had to give you an opportunity to make things a little bit more. I wanted to take this opportunity to explain you a little bit more so that a base is created. In a day or two, I think we'll be able to make a more stronger base because I have more concepts to tell you. But the initiation has been done in the sense that we will be continuously playing around with this, how human nature is, how society is, and then we'll keep on changing our way of looking at the society. With this, I'll end the class. If you have any kinds of doubts, please feel free to ask me. Otherwise, I'll end the class and we will be meeting now tomorrow. Meanwhile, yesterday's PPT, although it had only images and some definitions of state, but I'll still upload it. And this PPT also has some few things to this domain. I'll upload these two PPTs for you just in case you want to have a reference. And that's it. What if question? There's a question, sir. What if a monarch has two kids, sons and daughters? How will the transition of power take place? Who will become the next monarch? See, generally it was a system whereby the son would inherit it. There have been cases whereby if there is no son, the king would bequeath the entire empire to a daughter also. So that is a historical fact. That is not per se a political fact. And but generally it was to son. Okay, that's how the society was conceptualized. Generally it was used to be with the son. That's why there were kings, very few queens in the history. Okay. Any other doubt? So see, if you are somebody who has no uh, absolute no this uh, background of social sciences, then all these things will be new to you. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to have a systematic way of making a society. And in this systematic way, first we need to have some assumptions. Just like in any theory, there are assumptions, uh, and then we'll put it into practice, and then we see there are problems, and then we keep on changing it. So all of this is nothing but a set of ideas. Uh, at one point of time in your life, you may be a leftist, and you may transition towards being a rightist, or vice versa. Or at one point of time, you are idealist, and at later point of time you may become a realist. The basic idea is that ideas are there. To what extent they inspire you or influence you at a particular point of time, and that's what social living is all about. So it will keep on changing, and we'll keep on continuously uh, doing a dialogue with the ideas. That's what social sciences are all about. Okay. Any other doubts? Okay, so I don't see any other doubts. So let's end the class today here, and let's continue with our discussion tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any kinds of other queries with respect to your portals, or with respect to how to view the recorded lectures, feel free to message. The team will get back to you. If you have any kinds of academic queries, feel free to message on the group. I will get back to you. Okay, fine. Thank you so much, everyone, once again, and let's meet tomorrow.